Indianapolis Center, do you have any test operation restricted area 2508?
Aries 31, roger. Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Roger, Aries 31. Continue to send at your discretion, over.
Okay, Center. The traffic is approaching head-on, ultra bright, and really moving. They're right by us right now.
There are 1,000 UFO sightings reported around the world every month. 90% of these sightings can be explained, but 10% cannot. Officially and unofficially, the U.S. military has been investigating UFOs since 1947. Their top secret goal is to find out what's behind these unexplained sightings. The Pentagon classifies them as unusual airborne anomalies, but a better term is X-Files. Join us now as Mack, Wanwan, and Commander Cobra explore these unsolved cases, UFO incidents that baffle even the U.S. military. This is Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. And now, here's Mack Maloney.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. What a special show we have for you tonight. But first, let me introduce the members of the posse, or the poussée, as the kids say in downtown Paris. Girls, get ready. Get your mister, get your fans, sit yourself down, get that extra big box of Kleenex. Wow, yeah. And that economy pack size of wipes, because the very famous Wanwan is here.
Hello, girls. Welcome to the show. Hello, Mac. You know, we have a vast female audience here, and we saw the numbers, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
I mean, it's amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing. It's amazing that it's more than one. Yes.
A cool array of personalities here on the show.
We have a lot of female listeners, and we for the first time cracked the top 100 in Australia this week. And so we're being heard.
And that's amazing, because Australia's pretty hip.
Around the globe, yes. And believe me, anytime I see something like that, I always write to the tracking company and I say, is this really real? And they assure me that it is. So anyway, Wanwan, thanks for joining us. Now you're dressed interestingly tonight. You got the Rolling Stones tongue logo behind you. You got your scally cap on that you've stolen my look. You've also have shades on, also my look. What's going on?
I beg your pardon. I invented this look.
7 weeks in a row.
That is.
Okay. Is there something you want to say to the audience that you might have said in a previous recording that we're not going to use now?
No, I'll let it ride.
Really?
No, it's like...
Okay. All right, let me move on then. I will move on. Up there in the great state of Maine, the Great White North, in his compound, what used to be a bunker, been upgraded. We know him as...
Covered with snow.
There you go, snow. Not being code at this point. They know him as Coco on the street, but we know him as Commander Cobra. CC, how are you?
Hello, Commander.
Good evening, Mac. As always, a privilege to join the formation of Mack Maloney's Military X-Files.
Mm-hmm.
And Wanwan, it's wonderful to see you back with us.
Nice. Thank you.
Always.
Thank you.
He was speechless there for about 7 seconds, it seemed.
No, I have to slow. We're having a bit of a connection issue, so I want to make sure that no one's talking. So, don't run over anyone, because that's a contractual issue. Then I'm tired of letters from lawyers.
Okay. All right. We heard that. So listen. This is a special show, special night, because we're calling it Coco Palooza, okay? A lot about Coco, girls, and ladies, so get ready. But before all that, before the fun starts, let me introduce our national correspondent up there in Battle Creek, Michigan, the Battle Creek of the Republic, Switchblade Steve Ward. Switchy.
Great to be here tonight.
Hello, Switchy.
Hey, Wanwan.
Now, let me ask you something.
I like the new look you got there.
Do you? Do you like the new look?
About 10 years younger.
He has a different... He does have a...
So, did you notice how fast he was? He was almost like the Flash.
The Flash,
wow,
yeah.
You were fast tonight on your intros.
I thought that was subliminal, but no. Listen, but Switch, you really do look... You don't look like a professor so much anymore as a student. Maybe a student. You know, and the pulling on the chin. We have to be a TV show, because he looks very astute.
You look like Gen Z, man.
Whoever that is. Who?
Generation Z.
Oh, okay. Generation Z. We're at the Z now? So look, talking about Generation Z, Switch, this is the part of the show that most people like. This is the skew, as they say in the biz. Okay, and that is, what did Switch...
What? The
The
skew?
skew. What, the skew for the hour. What did Switch have for breakfast? And now, I got a little hint somehow. A little bird sent me an email and said, hang on for this one. So, Switchy, please, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
I had, of course, accompanied with hot black coffee.
Yes, drink a
I
little.
had 2 slices of rum pound cake.
What?
That sounds good.
That was good.
In the morning?
Homemade or what?
Yeah,
Now-
neighbor brought it over.
It's
Wow.
Quick question: were you dipping the pound
Nice.
cake into rum at breakfast time, or was the rum part of the mixture of the cake when it was made?
It was all self-contained.
really? Okay. All right. Now, hang on.
That's really not an answer to my question.
Right.
Thank you.
He can't remember. So listen. Now let me ask this. So did you get a buzz? Did you get a little morning buzz there, Switchy? I have to ask. The audience wants to know.
And I don't think so. I think everything, I maintain an even strain.
Really? Yeah.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
those things are soaked through. Usually, any rum cake I've ever had is just soaked through with rum.
You know, with all the references to John Keel, I would have thought you would have said an even keel at that point.
no.
It seemed like it was asking for it. I'm
Wow.
not quite sure what happened.
Well, I just, Commander Cobra, I don't want to be predictable all the time. I want to kind of, shoot from the hip.
Okay.
Change
Wow.
it up a little bit. Yep.
Oh, I'll tell you.
Good for you. Send me the recipe to that, will you?
But if I thought of it,
Send me the recipe. Wow. Okay. Interesting. All right. I got asked, what you have for lunch? Do you remember?
a couple scrambled eggs and bacon.
Well, isn't that
There you
breakfast?
go. There you go.
Then that sounds more like a breakfast.
I have that often for lunch.
Yeah, well, it
you
just
really?
kind of worked out that way,
Do you really? Yeah.
My biorhythms are off a little bit.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. All right. Yep. I can see that, I guess. I don't know. Whatever you're drinking, it's good to hydrate. Okay. So why don't we do this? There you go. Okay. Looks like vodka. Oh, gin. So this is Coco Palooza. And I've gathered a
Hey,
number.
Mac, before you go,
Yes.
I just wanted to throw this in. I'm sorry, we have a little bit of a delay, so I'm trying to work this in,
Okay.
not be too obtrusive.
That's what
You
she said.
mentioned Australia.
Yes.
I have about 6 to 9 months in that country
Okay.
and continent.
Yes.
And 2 favorite cities, it's a tie between Melbourne and Hobart. So for listeners in those 2 places, but it's a fine separation because there isn't a place that I was in Australia that I did not enjoy or have a great time in.
Well, you're not
Wonderful
the first.
country, wonderful.
Yeah, not the first person I've heard say that. And if you go there, supposedly, it's all very good-natured, drunk people, guys, and every woman is beautiful. Do we have that right?
It's even a little bit better than that.
Really?
And taking nothing away from my Aussie mates,
Yes.
they tend to be a little bit more unrefined with the ladies, or as they sometimes refer to them, Sheilas.
Go ahead.
And it makes us look like rock stars.
Nice.
We all look like Wan-Wans walking around there.
Nice. I get it. Wow. And we cracked the top 100 podcasts in Australia. So, okay.
I think if I met Nicole Kidman down there, I'd steal her away from.
Really? Hey, listen, can I tell you something?
What's his face there?
We will get to
Keith
Coco Palooza at some point, but look, I have a little confession to make. One, you'll understand. I watched, there's a movie that's around, made about Fox News. It's about the Megyn Kelly who sued Fox News. And,
Right.
It's that whole story, and it's really good. I mean, it's compelling. You want to watch it. You watch like 2 minutes, and you want to watch the whole thing. Nicole Kidman is in it. She's in it. She plays Greta Carlson.
She is?
Yes, but she's in a blonde wig.
Oh.
She's in a blonde wig, and without the red curls, Yeah, she's
Doesn't do it for you.
No, I couldn't believe it. I lost a little interest.
I know what you mean.
But
I
anyway,
know what you mean.
I know that's
Well, it was nice being in the top 100 of Australia.
Right, yes, okay, because I guess there's a
That
lot of
Southern
redheads there.
Cross is sinking slowly on the horizon. Thank you so much.
We have to speak from the heart, Coco.
Yeah.
Are there a lot
Well,
of
some
redheads on
things from the heart don't need to be spoken out loud.
Oh, in a voice.
If I may invoke that voice too, we'll put this in the secret box and close it. Okay?
Wow, inside kind of. So listen, why
are
start?
Australian women so beautiful looking? Is that because I just see them on the movies? Is that what it is? Having not been in Australia, what's going on there?
I don't know why.
Is it the weather? Is it the water?
I don't know why. But it's something
but it's
you hear all the time,
Yeah,
and there's a kernel of truth in it. Anytime you see anything in Australia, there always seems to be attractive women.
I met a lot of Australians when I was traveling through Europe.
Really?
Back in '73.
Yeah, yep. They're nuts. I mean, Australian guys. Once we played golf, we needed to pair up with two people, and we paired up with these two Australian guys. They're insane. Nicely, they're like almost like a refined Irish drunk in a way. Do you know what I mean?
They're not too bloody polite like Englishmen.
Right. There's a little bit they're in between.
And tough and
yeah. It's like in between an Englishman and an Irishman. There's an Australian,
So,
always
we're in the top 150. That's what you said. Top 150.
I don't know. It was 100, but anyway. Yeah. Okay, let's go. And they're very generous, and they'll always party, no matter what the time, day, situation. No problem.
No doubt about that.
Want to go have a beer? Yeah, let's go.
And they drink beer out of those big cans.
Now we definitely have. Now we're not even on the top 200. Anybody who thinks Australians drink Fosters is crazy.
One.
They pack that stuff up and send it to us.
Do they really?
It's a kangaroo ad telling us how great it is.
That stuff's
That's
awful.
the biggest joke going.
Is it really? Yeah, that's funny. 1-1 fell for it.
I did. I thought it was wonderful. It was awful.
Okay. Wow.
It's like Genesee or something.
Don't ever dump on Genesee, okay? I have that in my veins. I'm living up in upstate New York for 12 years.
Oh,
was
boy.
it 14?
I bet you do.
Okay, can we
Cream ales are a very select crowd.
Jenny Cream Ale is one of the best. You have to drink a lot of it to appreciate the taste. But once you cross that River
That's
Styx,
true about a lot of things.
there's no way coming back. Like, when we get to the 20 questions, this is Coco Palooza, okay? The whole show, well, it was going to be dedicated to Coco Nest, but Juan, 30 seconds in, lodged a complaint. So we have to do this with that.
No, it wasn't a complaint. It was a commentary from Juan.
It was a meow.
The fascination over Cobra, and I'm included in that group of people who are fascinated by Cobra every show that he's on, and he's sorely missed when he's not on the show.
Wow. Okay. All right. You girls want to get a fat-free cookie? And
I can see myself on Juan's sunglasses from the reflection
wow.
of the computer.
Let me
Looking
pretty good.
how's that?
Is that
You
him?
can see yourself in like Bizarro world
Yeah.
reverse. It's amazing.
Oh, my God.
Amazing.
But,
There we go.
yeah, okay. Might have been one too many breath of fresh air, but let's see. Okay, here we go. Number 20. All right, these are questions I've always, a lot of them is just stuff I've always wanted to ask you, and I figure, well, I'll write them all down. Took some from the audience.
At this point in the relationship, Mac, I can't believe you have not asked me everything you want to know.
Well, let's see. We'll see. Okay.
We've known each other over 20
I know you guys
years.
are bros from way back.
Coco Lapuzza.
No holds barred with you two guys. It's amazing.
Right. Are we ready? Are we going to do this?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm
okay,
ready.
let's go. Okay.
I'm excited. With bated breath, I am waiting for the first question.
Okay. It's going to be maybe now with this, they're going to sound boring. Okay, but
No, never.
Okay,
Mac,
here we go.
it's you. How can it be boring?
Why don't you take the first one there, Switchy?
Want me to read 20?
Yeah, read 20.
Okay. All right. Commander Cobra, why is it that some small planes have 3-blade propellers and others only have 2?
See, I go by a small airport going down to the Plum Island every day, and I see in most of the private planes there have 2-bladed propellers, but there's one that has 3 blades, and I'm thinking, well, maybe it makes it go faster or whatever. It's a little bit of an unusual plane, but why? So why? Instead, most have 2. Why do some have 3 or even 4?
Well, from the engineer's point, there's a amount of thrust that the engine's going to produce, and the propeller turning around, which is just a wing, is going to produce this thrust.
Yes.
So 2 blades give you a certain length and a certain amount of drag that's going to be produced out of that. 3 will produce, you would think, generally more lift, more thrust, but also that drag part goes up as well. So it really is very dependent on what the engine capacity is, how much horsepower, how much you're looking to produce thrust.
Right.
Because when you add the extra blade in there on the propeller, you're adding extra weight, extra drag, and you have to make it sufficiently powerful enough.
Right.
So in the case of some airplanes, especially airplanes where they move that propeller that's not fixed, where you can adjust it, you're able to get more surface area, more thrust, more lift for thrust generation out of 3 blades or 4.
Yep.
Generally, it stops at 4.
Yep.
There are not too many that go 5. There are a few out there that do 6, but those are doing some really interesting things to the prop.
Right.
It's just a matter of trying to produce the maximum amount of thrust for the power that you're putting into the engine.
Right.
And that's not just for takeoff. It's also for cruise and also for when you're making your approach to land.
Right, right. So I hope your kids took notes during that. But see, that's one thing about airplanes is this, and this much I know, is that from the engineering point of view, whatever you put on an airplane is going to weigh something. And you have to make up not only
costs.
Yeah, not only do you have to even it out, you have to have more power above and beyond that to haul that thing around with you. And what I don't understand, and we don't want to get into a long discussion about this, but the F-35, okay, which now everyone is kind of saying, oh, it is a good airplane, great airplane. It's going to be there's going to be more of these airplanes made than any other airplane ever. It's a fighter. It can do all these things. There's a version that has vertical takeoff and landing. But that carries around a fan engine in the middle, right? That isn't running all the time.
Correct. It's not actually a fan engine on the F-35 now, and it wasn't on the Harrier.
Okay.
It's directing through a drive shaft off the engine that producing fan. And then when it moves to forward flight, it starts to shut that down because the wing starts to take lift. It's very similar to what we did in the X-49.
Okay, but
the wings and rotor for the compound helicopter. When you got above 60 knots, the wings were producing lift and you had less requirement coming out of the main rotor.
Right.
Same kind of thing happens with the thrusting versus the thrust that's coming out of that spinning fan in the center of the air.
But aren't you hauling that thing around for a long time when it's not doing anything?
Yes. But the advantage that you got, Mac, was that you could be a lot closer to the battlefield. So instead of flying from a further distance to get to where you need to go, you can be very close to where the action is, so to speak.
That makes sense.
Take off, make that transition. So now instead of flying for 45 minutes to get to the spot, maybe hitting a tanker, you're in the game in 20 minutes and you're delivering ordnance or doing whatever the mission requires.
Yes.
You may not be able to stay as long.
Right.
And when you're flying as a pure airplane, you have some penalty, no doubt, out of that, but you were there sooner. So it's a trade-off.
Yep. Okay, number 19. I'll read number 19. This kind of leads right into it. Why don't they have parachutes on helicopters?
Actually, if you're talking on the physical aircraft itself, there's no really good place to put it, although that was thought of and attempted in the 60s.
Okay.
In the Air Force, we did fly with parachutes during air refueling when I was in the Air Force in the 80s.
Interesting.
So you were high enough that you could get out of the aircraft, and if you were not in one of the seats, you had a pretty good chance of maybe getting outside the ramp or going outside one of the doors. So that was a very demanding operation.
Yes.
As the years have gone by, the helicopter, the crew, pilots and crewmen just do not wear chutes normally. Now, when you get something like an Apache or a Cobra, it's not very easy to bail out of the aircraft, and obviously ejection seats were played with, but again, going back to that weight penalty,
plus you'd have to
go way too prohibitive to weight, and you had the issue of trying to get through the rotor blades. So
not
you
a good
the
idea.
rotor blades go away first, and then so in most cases, helicopters are very controllable down at the surface of the ground unless you had major catastrophic failure.
Right. Yes. Okay.
If you still have moving rotor blade, you can control it for the auto rotation really very well, and you practice that all the time. You're very, very proficient at that.
Right.
So that's the main reason. You fly very low. It's very difficult to get out of
low
for the small helicopter.
Right.
And in some cases, like I said, the larger helicopters that are up at altitude, you could wear chutes We stopped about the mid 80s, as I remember correctly, in the Air Force.
Okay. I'll read the next one, Switch, then you can have the one after that, okay? So question 18. Right. Now, the U-2, the Lockheed U-2 was a spy plane that was put together late 50s, early 60s. And basically the reason it was put together was they wanted to fly over the Soviet Union to see what was happening with the Soviet Union. Are they doing, nuclear tests? How many bombers did they have? So it's basically we spied on the Soviet Union for a long time with these things. And they flew so high that they didn't have a missile to shoot them down. Now, my question, until they shot down Gary Powers, that's another show. My question is this: Did the Russians ever have a version of the U-2? Did the Russians ever have an aircraft that overflew us and spied?
Specific part, if you're asking here, Mac, about the U-2, I have to be very cautious how I answer this. The Soviets did attempt to produce an aircraft like it.
Yes.
And they did fly and do some research, but they were never able to quite perfect it.
Yes.
And part of the reason I think that is more than anything else is they never were required to develop a tanker capability because most of their operations in the Soviet Union, and the way they had their satellite countries, their ability to project aerial reconnaissance was greatly restricted by the fact that they did not produce an ability to get that to go forward. And no one has ever come close to what the SR-71 did.
Right.
The only thing that's probably close to it is the SR-72, which is rumored and not a lot of detail about. The Soviets, now Russians, they did produce some aircraft very similar to it, but nothing with the quite capability.
Okay.
And quite honestly, I have to throw a little dig at the Air Force. They seem to really want to be able to get rid of the U-2, and the Global Hawk was going to replace it, and yet the Global Hawk could not do some of the things that the manned U-2 can do in terms of altitude, plus the deviations that can be made by a pilot that's flying it.
Go on YouTube sometime, and there are a number of videos on them. Basically, they take like a GoPro camera up on a U-2 flight, and it's crazy, man. I mean, it's one long kind of climb, and by the time they kind of level out, you can see, it's like you're in outer space. You can see the curvature of the Earth. I mean, you can really see the curvature of the Earth. It's amazing. Juan, you want to say something?
Well, what you just said about flying that high, I mean, what's the altitude that you have to reach in order to see the curvature of the Earth?
90,000 feet, maybe?
Well, I think anything above 65 or so, you start to see that curvature. But I'm going to give you the best description I ever heard from a U-2 pilot describe what it was like to fly. He says, when you're standing on the ground and you look up in the sky and you see an airliner at 35,000 feet.
Yes.
That's what I see when I look over the side of the rail of the U-2 when I look down. I see that same airliner 35,000 feet below me.
Wow. Okay. So 70,000 feet or so, right? Yeah, it's a whole different way of flying up there too. It's very strange, you're
what a perspective.
So anyway, so next question, please. 20 questions for Coco in the Coco Palooza show. Go ahead, Switchy.
Please explain the phrase, if it looks good, it flies good.
There is a certain visceral, romantic angle to all pilots that when they look at something that looks like it should go fast or fly well, you believe that. In general, that tends to work out, and when it doesn't, it works out not in absolute great magnitude. There are some airplanes that look like they should fly or look like they were really classically well designed, and they were a disaster as soon as they got in the air. And not to pick on our Russian Soviet friends, but they tended to build some very, very pretty aircraft that were not very well controlled or not very well designed airplanes. Very difficult.
Right. There are, but when you look at like the classic airplanes, like in my mind, the P-51 Mustang, the F-86 Super Sabre, the F-16, the F-15, the F-22. I mean, there's the P-38 Lightning is another one. There's something in the Spitfire. You look at it, and it's like it just looks like it can go fast or something. You know what I mean? Or it looks like it's already going fast or something. There's a streamlined design or something to them. Yeah. So anyway, I've heard pilots say that. So anyway, next one, please switch.
I just need to throw it in there for the community. The A-10 doesn't look very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
It's considered a fairly ugly airplane, and it's probably one of the greatest airplanes we ever produced in this country for what it can do. Sadly, the production line ended way too early for that. They could still be making them today, I think.
Yeah, those are good planes. Yeah,
a great airplane.
They're not sexy.
Double ugly. Sometimes the line that they use for the F4 is another airplane that did an incredible job. It was probably one of the best fighter bomber aircraft ever built that could do both roles pretty well.
Right.
So sometimes looks don't count for everything. The one you left off there that I always thought looked like was a jet, and I got to fly it, and I absolutely loved it, was the A4 Skyhawk.
Oh yeah.
Good looking little airplane.
Yep.
Scooter, and it was designed by Hyman.
That's what John McCain flew during his Vietnam days. Anyway, okay, so now next question, please. Switch it.
Okay. Battleships replaced huge wooden warships. Aircraft carriers replaced battleships. What will replace aircraft carriers in the future?
I think the aircraft carriers are around probably for another at least decade, maybe two.
Wow.
I think what's going to change is very much what has happened in Mack Maloney books, where you're going to have
on sale everywhere.
You're going to have a change in how we're able to do what we do on ships. I think you're going to find more ships that look like tankers or cargo ships that are actually going to pack punch. They're going to put missile technology on them with these portable missile systems that are precision. You have things like the the F-35 that has a vertical takeoff capability that will allow them to launch, and they'll look like merchant traffic that's out there.
Yeah, wow.
That are going to be able to do and produce. So I think that the aircraft carrier still has a centerpiece for the projection, for the power projection that it can do. It's around for a while, but I think you're going to see more carriers, and that are going to be smaller.
Okay.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the fruition of submarines that have that kind of capability enhanced to what it does now comes along, and is going to be a very important part of it.
Right.
To me, the ultimate way to answer this is either things in orbit that are able to engage on the surface of the Earth.
Yes.
I think that's where you'll see an interesting, maybe the Space Command or Space Force will be able to capitalize that. The Air Force can't see that because they're not used to putting things onto ships. They're used to putting things on bases.
Right, yeah, sure.
I always thought the Space Force should have more of a naval kind of understanding, because the Navy's used to putting a large vessel together and then applying all kinds of military technology to it.
Yes. We should do a whole show on the Space Force, but it's much too early for that. So one more, and then we're going to take a break. I'll ask this one, okay? Number 15. True or false? People in the Coast Guard think sailors are chumps.
There's a question in there?
Yes.
Sailors are chumps?
True or false? Do Coast Guard people think that U.S. Navy sailors are chumps?
No, I don't think so.
I never heard that.
I think that what we in the Coast Guard like to tell people, and as you know, I spent a lot of time with the Navy, and I love my time with the Navy.
Go ahead.
We're the hard nucleus by which the Navy formed around in time of crisis.
Yes.
The Coast Guard is the center part of the atom, and the Navy brings the rest of it to the shell. All fairness, the Navy and what it does and how it does its mission is nothing less than stellar. When you consider that what we take for granted when you're at a base has to be reproduced on a ship.
Go ahead.
And it has to be reproduced by a very limited number of people.
Right.
And quite honestly, when you leave the shore and you head off underway, which is very different than any other service, you are pretty much on your own and at war.
Yeah. Yep. That's why the Navy's cool in a way.
Good observation.
This is kind of a joke, but that's why the Navy's cool in a way, because they come up with gadgets, because you have to, like when you're on a ship, everything has to be you either fold it away or some way you can fold it away. Space is such a premium, especially like on a sub and stuff, and like on aircraft carriers, lots of naval airplanes, their wings can fold up. That's another thing, you don't see in regular jet fighters or whatever. Fold up.
That's a big part of the compromise you have to make for an airplane getting on an aircraft carrier.
Right, yeah.
It has to be able to fit compactly with 70 to 80 other airplanes.
And it also has to have an
onboard
undercarriage.
ship, and Switch probably can attest to it, that you don't have as many bunks as you have men deployed on the ship.
Yes.
Because
sure.
you got guys that are on duty. They don't need a bunk at that moment.
Well, you're
And
sleeping
then
in
when
their
you
bunk.
leave, you sleep in that other guy's bunk.
That I could not do. I don't care. I'd mutiny.
That's called hot racking.
Yeah, no.
Yep.
No, not for me.
Two racks shared between 3 people.
So that's sick, man. That's sick. But listen, in the
It disturbs your sleep when the guy has
You're
to.
not going to have an
get his
empty
stuff.
rack with a guy that's on duty. Come on.
hey, he might get sick. You don't know. Look, he might get he might get confused. He thinks he's not supposed to be on duty. But anyway, look, Switch put a lot of time and effort into the images in back of him now. We're a radio show, but so let me try to narrate this. There's the kind of life preserver that the Coast Guard guy's got. It has a little ducky on it. Okay, looks like Mickey Mouse also on a Coast Guard ship. Okay, there you go, Coast Guard.
Can I just quickly add while we're down memory lane here?
Falling asleep. Go ahead. More rubber duckies.
Popeye was a Coast Guardsman.
Was
That's
he
all I
really?
have to say.
He was?
Was he? He don't. He's
Who was?
No.
Popeye.
Popeye was a Coast Guardsman.
How do
I
you know
don't think.
that?
Yeah, you're gonna have to prove
So
that.
the song
thing.
goes Popeye the Sailor.
There you go.
Yeah, and he was a Coast Guardsman. Do you want to place some money on this, gentlemen? Because I
No, wait a
love
minute.
taking money from
Now
Navy,
wait a minute. Hold on a second. Hold on.
Navy squids. I
Hold
love
on.
taking money from squids.
I'm not saying
Yeah, I was the
it's not
bubblehead.
true, but I'm shocked to hear that.
Spoken like a true Navy guy. Listen, talk to me. I've never been in the Navy. So you're saying that sometime.
Popeye was a Coast Guardsman.
See, it's a semantic thing. Are you saying he was in the Coast Guard?
He was a Coast Guardsman.
Yeah,
He was not a Navy sailor.
He was in the
a
U.S. Coast Guard.
Guardsman, sailor.
I should bet him $20.
Well,
I don't believe it.
because
Yeah,
you
no,
always seem to be on land with hanging out with olive oil all the time.
Yeah,
So it's like
think of that.
It's like me being in Newport, Rhode Island. I was a sailor, but
I
you
knew.
wouldn't know it.
that was 5
That was my
seconds, by the way. 5 seconds. He went from Popeye to him. And olive oil.
Actually, it was less than that by my clock.
Was it really? Wait, you're on a delay, so I might have seen less than that. So anyway, a lot of olive oils down in Newport there, JJ? People want to know.
Yeah, but you know what? My problem was is that I kept going home too much. I didn't take advantage of the situation as much as I could have.
Going home
Being
with
in-
your...
Being in the land of the mansions. and
To your
everything, you know,
families?
do the mansion tour and.
Did you go home to your
know.
family? Your family,
Yeah,
like your
I
mother?
had a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend in Massachusetts.
Okay, all right.
So like a jerk, I kept going back to that
Oh,
instead of really.
it's
instead
love.
of taking advantage of being in Newport for crying out loud.
Right. I could see
Newport, come
I
on,
could see your
please.
family saying, "Wasn't he supposed to be in the Navy? Why is he here all the
I didn't
time?"
even know there was a base in Newport until I got sent there.
Wow. Another show.
Newport.
Okay, now there's Popeye. Now, Switch has just put up a image of Popeye. He looks to me like he's in the Navy, frankly. He's got the Navy tattoo. We won't go into this too much.
He's got that Navy swagger too.
He's got the spinach. He's
Definitely the swagger.
he does have the swagger.
You can tell that by a
Okay.
still image.
Right. He talks like
Well, we
he's
know
got
the
a
cartoons. The cartoons are hilarious.
He talks like he's got a mouthful of marbles, but yeah, right, and always with the Bluto and the olive oil. Okay, but to me, he
Bluto
looks
is-
like he's he's in the Navy. All right, so I'm going to bet you $20, Coco, and then what? How are you going to prove it to me? He's stunned.
Okay, I'm going to send this to Switch
To
on
neutral-
the break.
Neutral site.
and
Okay.
He
Yep.
can read it.
Okay. Now wait a minute.
Okay.
Hold it.
So are we at a break right now?
Not yet. Let me think this over. Okay, $10. I'm going to say $10.
I
You can.
googled it. It says he's in the Coast Guard.
Okay,
I googled
never mind.
it.
Let's take that break now.
Believe Google.
This has been Coco Palooza. I don't know. We'll have to rails a little bit. Coco, thank you for saving me $20. I mean, JJ, thank you. And it's all about Coco tonight, but why don't we take a commercial break now? And we'll come back and we'll do the rest of the questions we've always wanted to ask Coco on the special show. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-File show. Wow, what a show we have for you tonight. A special show, Coco Palooza, everything you ever want to know about Coco. All Coco for 2 hours. But we've had a little behind-the-scenes fighting, but let me introduce them anyway, girls. Let's just say you have all your gear around you. The very famous Juan is here.
All the paraphernalia.
Paraphernalia, right, yes. Yeah, female products. You could,
the toys?
I didn't go down that road. You chose to. So listen, everything okay with you?
Yeah, definitely. Everything's great.
Is it really? Yeah. How do you think the Coco
I did
Lapooza
put
is
down
going?
one dog, and I'm trying to get over that.
Okay. I was going to ask you, how do you think the Coco Lapooza is going?
Oh, that?
Yes.
I think it's hilarious. No, I'm learning a lot because he's such a
The H word.
he's such a scholar of aviation. I mean, that was his gig,
Right.
or it still is.
Yes. And somehow we work Popeye in there. So, hey, we hit to all
And
fields.
we did work Popeye.
Let me introduce
It's a
him.
military connection, so that's good.
Right. And he saved me
Yeah.
$20.
I haven't talked about Popeye in a long
You
time.
did. No. Listen, we run into a couple olive oils along the way, though, as it turns out. But another story. Listen.
We've all known an olive oil, haven't we? But olive oil was a good person. See, that's the thing.
She was a good person.
She was
Okay.
nice to him, and
Yep. Yeah. When you
the
say
most part,
nice.
Popeye was nice
sure.
to her.
Yeah. He must have liked her because, he was always pursuing her.
they're inseparable.
Right. Well, until Brutus.
He
Yeah, right.
He couldn't get anybody else. I don't
Yeah.
think.
He couldn't get anyone else, I see.
Right.
He couldn't, she couldn't.
Olive oil was trying to play hard to get all the time.
Oh, boy. Good for her. So listen, speaking of olive oil, Popeye, up there in the Great White North, the star of the show tonight, Coco, Commander Cobra. We're going to have to clap, and I'll sweeten it up. Okay, please, guys? Clap for him.
Good evening, Mac. Thank you. As always, a real privilege to be
Wow.
part of the formation of Mac Maloney's Military X.
Okay.
And we thank you for it.
Yes,
We're indebted to you
for all you've
every
done,
week.
right.
It's,
in the service and out. Thank you. This is
Yeah.
your night.
thank you for your service as always.
But let me introduce Ringo here, okay? Up there in Battle Creek, Michigan, on drums, national correspondent, Switchblade Steve Ward, Switchy.
Ringo.
Yeah, I knew that was going to land well. I knew that was going to land well. That's going to leave a mark in the
Why?
mind. No doubt about it. Sorry about that switch.
If someone called me Ringo, I'd take it as a compliment. Frankly.
Yeah, with all the
great to be
all
here.
the things you've said about drummers over the years on Mac Maloney's Military
Well,
X-Files, it's a real compliment.
Those are just
Yeah.
jokes. No, Ringo is, and JJ will back me up on this. Ringo is
Charlie Watts.
like in the top 5 rock drummers, right?
Yeah.
I can name them. I mean, it's Ringo, it's Charlie Watts, it's
Alan White.
The guy
Bill
from
Bruford.
Toto. Yeah, Bill Bruford. The top 10. Top 10. Yeah. There's a number of them who are
So
just
all those remarks about what do you call a guy that's really fun and hangs out with the band, drummer,
no.
that
Come
doesn't
on.
apply here. Is
Why
what
do you
you're
have to
saying.
bring?
I
Why are
got
you
it.
bringing
Okay.
that up? Why do you have to
did
suck the
mention
energy
Maynard
out
G.
of it?
Krebs.
Maynard G. Krebs, another phenomenal drummer.
Yeah,
Right.
he was a drummer.
Yeah, bongo drums.
Bongo player.
Oh, bongos. Okay, yeah, okay. Percussionist, as they say in the biz. So listen. All right, so we're in the middle of. Switchy had two big pieces of rum cake today for breakfast, and he is still saying that he didn't get a little bit of a buzz, as the kids say. You sticking with that, Switchy?
Yeah, I was in control the whole morning.
Okay. I mean, did you still have the beard when you had the rum cake?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did? And then you shaved off in
I had
between.
more hair.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I went and got a haircut, and
Oh,
then I
Took the
shaved the beard.
switchblade, shaved it off.
Oh, he went to get a haircut. Interesting. Yeah. Did you go to like Supercuts or something without going into too much detail?
No, I went to a good old-fashioned barber in town.
Really? Yeah. Okay. Good for you. All right, keep them in business. Yeah, I went to a Supercuts once, and maybe people don't know what Supercuts are. They're basically a quick haircut, right? Wani, would you say? Ever go to one?
Yeah, but they're a stylist emporium, but they're sort of a chain stylist emporium.
Right. I had a I shouldn't say I had a haircut there once, and the girl straddled me like you might get like in a strip club. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
Right on the leg. Yeah. I said, wow.
So what hairs were you getting cut, Matt?
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Wow. I got to drive 40 miles
So
to smack you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Switch.
Did you move?
Excuse me?
I think I might have known.
They tell you not. They tell you not to move.
Did you move and get like half your side of your head?
I couldn't afford that, frankly. So yeah, no, I was. Believe me, I stayed in place. I know.
It's been a long time since I've been in a barber shop with a pole in it, but I'm going to have to start looking into that.
It had red stripes on it.
He was strapped in on this one.
Yeah, it was like, wow.
I know the place. It's in a town near where he lives. He used to work on their computers.
Okay.
I don't think it's there.
Whose computers have you not worked on?
Everywhere.
In New England region.
Don't you sign something?
At what time or another, I worked
Dan Brown, Mack Maloney.
I know Dan Brown.
Don't get into
Mack
that.
Maloney. It's unbelievable.
Don't get into that. Don't get into that because there's a little backstory that came up today on that. Juan's good friend.
That's right.
Right. So anyway, why don't we get
I'll have to send that to Cope.
This is Coco's night. So why don't we get back to the questions, okay? And I think we're on. Are we on 14? Switching.
14.
Okay. Yep. Let me ask this one. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. If you're in an airliner and something went wrong, okay. Let's say it ran out of fuel. I know that wouldn't happen, but how far would it be able to glide? Now, this is
It depends on the altitude, Mac.
Oh, let's say, where they fly at, like 35,000 feet?
Yeah, you could I would say you probably, on average, have a 3 or a 4 to 1 kind of thing there.
Okay.
So I would say you could probably glide maybe, depending on our conditions, 35,000 is what we're saying. You could probably glide 10 to 20 miles.
Oh, yeah, huh? Okay. Well, I thought it'd be a little longer than that, but no. I mean, are you in control at all?
Oh, yeah. You're in control. It depends on how bad the condition is. If you ran out of fuel,
right,
and that has happened,
yep,
you generally you're running on battery power at that point, and you don't have complete full authority with all the different flight
stuff,
flight control, airfoil type devices.
Right.
If you still had fuel that you could run what we call the auxiliary power unit, the APU, you might be much like in your books when we talk about the rat being deployed or something like that.
Yep.
You might have the ability to still keep hydraulic fluids and things like that running.
Good to know.
So that you can still maintain certain amount of control. But in general, pretty grievous situation.
Yeah, I'll say, yeah.
The plane is lighter. If the plane is lighter, you can go further, obviously. If you have a tailwind, it's going to physically move you over the surface quicker or greater distance.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of considerations there, but
Hope it never happens.
A very good thing to happen. That's the reason why we have multiple engines on airliners.
Oh, right, yeah. What are the chances, right? So let's see. Question number 13, please, Switchy.
Question number 13 is, what is the worst jet fighter built in the last 50 years?
What's the worst design?
Worst jet fighter built.
Yep.
Boy, do you have any particular part of the world you want to put it in? Or are you saying from the U.S. perspective?
Anyone.
Madagascar.
Yeah, their Air Force is
I would probably say, although I actually like the airplane quite a bit, the F-7 Cutlass was an airplane that it was dubbed the ensign killer in the United States Navy.
Yep.
Swept wing, very advanced design.
Big cockpit.
It had a lot of mostly a kind of a flying wing kind of concept, the way the engines were mounted on it with rudders on the end of the wing.
Twin tails.
Very interesting airplane.
Big canopy.
But it just did not have the kind of computer fidelity to carry the day, and it was underpowered. And that was the big problem when the transition between propeller-driven airplanes and jet airplanes in that era. There was a lot of airplanes that were not very effective because they just couldn't put the thrust out. And they didn't have
it's funny because
that. And then you didn't have the fidelity to do some of the things you do now. People that flew those airplanes, including pilots that I've met that did survive and flew the Cutlass for the Navy, loved those airplanes and loved them because they were in them and it was their airplane. And that's usually what happens.
Right.
Soviets had a couple in there that were some real wonders, mainly because they seemed to be copying what they saw being produced in the West and made a version of it. And again, lacking some of the fidelity, taking nothing away from Soviet / Russian engineering. Some excellent engineering that's gone on there. But they're willing to make compromises because they don't have the same kind of safety concerns, at least in my opinion, that went with that. And in those days, early 50s to early 60s, naval aviation, Air Force aviation, Marine Corps, they were willing to take higher risk and accept much higher casualty and failure rate.
Interesting.
Going to sea on operations because they felt that they were in a do or die situation in the Cold War, especially in those early years.
Right, sure.
Most of the fighter bombers that were based all through Europe, that was a one-way ticket into the Soviet Union. And you were hoping that you were going to walk out after you dropped off your tactical nukes. So,
we mentioned the B-57 earlier. That's what those guys were doing.
I knew one pilot that flew the B-57. And he absolutely loved the airplane.
Yeah.
He said it was incredible. And he said he never understood why they didn't turn it into an interceptor because he thought that it had incredible capabilities that it could have done like that. But I think it was just an airplane that it filled a gap, and they didn't mind filling a gap for 5 to 6 years. So, and the next thing came out.
There was a really good story about this guy, probably in like Air Force magazine or something, and he was a B-57 pilot in Japan, and one night he was on call, whatever, and the big red light goes off, and
alert.
They have to get into their alert, and they have to get into their planes, and they're nuked up, and they say start your engines, get ready to go. So he spent like the entire night out there, engine going, you got to go in a second's time. And, he goes through everything that went through his mind because he's thinking it wouldn't be this long unless it's a nuclear, war, because they used to do drills, but they were over. You do it. And, now he's on for like 12 hours. And finally they called it down. They reduced it and they went off alert. And it turned out to be the day that Kennedy was shot. And he didn't know it. None of them knew it. But that's what they did. The entire our military forces around the world went on alert because no one knew what had happened.
It happens a lot. It is a very interesting reason behind that. As we observe them, they observe us kind of situation going on there. So if you know that the crews are no longer 15 minutes away from launching because they're no longer inside the alert facility, they've moved to the hangars and they're actually in the hangars. That means it's probably about a 5 minutes to take off.
Yeah, okay.
So that difference of 10 minutes now has cut that down. And they'll do that as a visual signal to the world and those that are observing that they're no longer 15 minutes to launch. Now they're down to 5 minutes or less to launch. That was not an uncommon thing to do. It's like opening the silo covers on the missiles.
Yes, sure.
When they would open those covers up and nothing else is happening, you're saying that we've, as was said in Red Storm Rising, we've unzipped our fly.
I was just going to say, our zippers are open. Well, once again, another show, but let's go on. But we should do a show. And what it is that no matter what, I mean, I know the Cold War, there was, there's a lot of stuff behind it. There's a lot of kind of philosophical stuff behind it and everything. But there was no way that Russia was going to beat us in a World War III. We had Russia surrounded for like 3 decades. We were flying stuff over Russia. They weren't flying it over us. They used to try to get what they could get through espionage and stuff like that. But everyone had to be on the same page, and the Cuban Missile Crisis certainly, didn't help. But it would have been mutually assured destruction. But had it been any kind of a conventional war, I think we would have won. How about that, Coco? Coco Palooza.
I think you're correct in that estimation. We have an open society, so that's what makes spying and espionage a possibility. They had a closed society to a great extent.
Interesting. Yep.
On that side, which really required the overflight, and we did not have the human intelligence level engagement as they had the ability here. Sort of like using your own rules against us kind of thing that went on there.
Yep.
I don't think, though, we would have there's no doubt in my mind up until probably the early 60s that we had the capability to bring the war to the Soviet Union and be on top of it. I think there was probably now in the 60s going into the 70s the mutually assured destruction thing actually rang pretty true. Because no one was going to win on this kind of a fight.
Yep.
And to this day, no one's going to win this fight. That's why we spend so much time talking about it, is if there's an accident or if there is a rogue nation, or what they sometimes refer to as a red flag event, that you still are able to communicate with the other country to find out that
what's what
he didn't do this on purpose, or it was an accident, or we're not the players, to keep it from going into this escalation, because you're not going to win on this one very well.
Right. Yeah.
No matter how you do it.
Right.
But I think you're correct, Mac. And I think the other part is this is why so much time is spent in the proxy wars of like Vietnam, activities that occurred in Africa,
Angola,
and the kind of spy versus spy activities that went on for so long in places like Asia and Europe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Amazing. We should do Phil, a good friend Phil Orbanes is coming on fairly soon. We have, he always has these really kind of cool spy stories. So much of it was going on in the 50s. There was a spy ring in the 50s run by a guy named Rudolph Abel out of a photography studio in Brooklyn. 800 people in this guy's network, and they're the ones who got nuclear secrets from Alamogordo and so on and so forth. They finally arrested him, and he's the guy that they exchanged for Francis Gary Powers.
Powers on the bridge.
You two guys, yeah. Bridges, whatever that movie was, directed by Spielberg. I'm not a big fan of his. Tom Hanks is in it. What was it? Was it The Bridge or something?
Bridge of Spies.
Bridge of Spies is a great movie.
Excellent.
It's a really, really good movie. And you think, what? They exchanged, but everything that led up to it and how he dealt with the Russians was excellent. The East Germans was really well done. That's kind of like a sleeper of Spielberg. He didn't slop it up. He didn't glop it up with, syrupy crap. It was just a really good story. And Tom Hanks was good in it. But anyway, all right, let's go to the next question. Switchy, please.
What is the best jet fighter pilot in the last 50 years?
Last question was, what was the worst? What was the best?
Oh, the best jet fighter or plane?
Jet fighter.
Jet fighter.
Jet fighter. I'm going to say that it depends. It's a toss-up, but I have to say, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, the F-16 probably will top out. It's very difficult to separate the F-15. F-15 has the greatest kill to no loss ratio of a modern fighter in any nation. The F-18 is a phenomenal aircraft for what it can do and be sea-based on that. The F-16 is very it's high marked in every category where it doesn't have too many lows.
Yeah, funny.
When it comes to fighting, especially in close, it's a phenomenal aircraft for doing it. That's why it's one of the best aggressor airplanes that's ever been used. And it really made our crews that had to fly against aggressor units using F-16. I think the F-22 is in a category by itself, what it can do. The greatest airplane, I have to say this, that was not built was the YF-23. That's the airplane that lost to the F-22, which was the better of the two airplanes. There's absolutely no question in my mind about it. Better range, better speed, better cruise. and it could do things. But Air Force and Northrop were not happy in those days. They were not pleased with them, and Lockheed had a better publicity, better PR kind of
people
thing
say the same thing about
forward.
The F-17, which beat out the F-16. And then if you look at an F-17, it has looks a lot like an F-18. But once again, another show. So, Switchy, next question. We're going to say F-16.
Next.
Go ahead.
Okay. If you are able to fly a helicopter, can you automatically just get into an airplane and fly it?
No? Wow, interesting. Okay.
Whole different animal?
Go ahead, Coco.
And vice versa. You can't do the same thing in a helicopter. You can't automatically from an airplane step into a helicopter and fly it.
Wow. Okay.
I would say that the difference would be something like, it's hard to give a really good vehicle kind of example, but it's one, if you're in a car and you're in maybe a tractor trailer or a tractor or an excavator, it's just, you have to learn what controls and what everything does.
Right. Yeah, sure.
In some instances, I think helicopters are easier to fly than airplanes.
Really?
And vice versa. I think there's some instances where airplanes are easier to fly than helicopters.
But in a helicopter, don't you have to do like several things? It's like playing bass guitar. You have to do things that just don't seem to.
You're using your hands and feet almost constantly. Although with the modern flight assists, the different kinds of autopilots and augmentations that are there,
right?
You can fly. You can make like if I have you in cruising flight in a helicopter or cruising flight in an airplane. Once I show you what we're doing, you'll be pretty comfortable. It's when you have to do the back to earth or the takeoff or the landing
that important part
where it starts to get pretty tricky. And of course, if you're going to do something like hover,
yes,
they used to bring Harrier pilots into helicopters to kind of give them a sense of what it was like to hover before they put them in the jets as a way to make that.
Yeah,
that's weird. Harrier pilots had never had any of that kind of training, and they did just as well without it.
That's funny.
So, no, one skill does not beget the other easily, and there's many schools of thought. If you need to fly airplanes before you fly helicopters, or vice versa.
Yes.
I've just been one of those very, very fortunate SOBs that has flown both and loved every moment of all of them, except for the times I was scared completely, crazy.
There you go, another show. Hey, listen.
You were scared about something?
Wait.
Oh, my God. There's been plenty of times where I was scared. If you gave me a lump of coal and it was between me and the seat, I would have given you a diamond at the end of some of the flights.
What? Well, look, and why don't you lay down and take a tissue here and tell us about it?
It'll come later. There's plenty of times where I got close on fuel, where the weather was bad.
Wow.
Where I pressed longer than I should have.
This is like Superman telling us.
Sometimes it wasn't for sometimes it wasn't for noble reasons. Sometimes it was get there itis, which has killed many pilots.
Okay, go ahead.
Where instead of landing when I could have, I went longer. And then things didn't work out the way I expected. The fuel was getting lower and lower, and now it's starting to really get into the area of criticality.
Yes.
There were times that I hung out longer when I thought the guys on the ground, guys and gals on the ground, needed me to be overhead.
Oh, wow.
And I probably pressed it longer than I should have. So, but I thought that was worth doing.
You know what, 1-1? Wow. He is the sensitive one.
He is.
Yeah. Okay.
And look for those major highways that they could possibly land in that didn't have any.
The highway
traffic.
System across the country. Helicopters
New Jersey
fall
Turnpike
time.
at 2:00 in the morning or something.
Okay. Well, thank you, Coco. So listen, we're in the middle of Coco Palooza. The whole show is about our good friend Commander Cobra, asking him things because he has a wide knowledge of a lot of things, questions we've always wanted to ask him. And I think I got the next one. Oh, here it is. Okay. All right. You are in an airline. You are a passenger in an airliner. You're up at 35,000 feet, as we talked about earlier. There you go. And Switch, thank you, Switch, for the image of Airplane.
Good Switch.
One of the best movies, funniest.
Hey, I got a quick question.
Go ahead.
A quick comment about that airplane.
Go ahead.
The pilot on the right, Am I right? Peter Graves?
Yep.
Yep.
Who's his famous brother?
James Arness from Gunsmoke.
James
Come on,
Garner.
what do you think?
James Arness.
James Arness.
Right. What do you think?
Yeah.
We're kids? What do you think? You're dealing with kids here?
Didn't know that.
Yeah. Listen.
What was the difference in their heights?
Yeah, James Arness was a tall guy, right? I'm going to say
6'7" for James Arness.
Yeah, he was a
Peter
big-
Graves 6'2".
Really,
5-inch
yeah.
difference between the brothers.
Yeah, Peter Graves. He was in Mission Impossible. He was in Fury. We used to
Definitely.
watch them on Saturday mornings. He was in, and he was in a lot of sci-fi movies. You know, he was just like that familiar face. You know, but the funny thing about Airplane was when I went to go see that. Right, it was like a first date, and we're sitting in this theater and it's mobbed, and there's a scene in it where the stewardess has to blow up the inflatable pilot. Do you remember that? Remember that
The
scene?
oral inflation tube.
Okay.
You must find the oral inflation tube.
Okay, right. So me and a guy down on the first row, the only ones who laugh. Okay.
Really?
Yes.
Let me guess how the rest of your
That was
date
it.
went.
Yeah, first and one and
Everybody else
only.
was preoccupied?
One and
What
out.
did you say?
I don't know. No one got the
What I
joke.
loved about that scene best was when it was all over, they're both in the cockpit smoking cigarettes.
Smoking cigarette. Yeah. No one got that either. Yeah, that was funny. That's a funny show.
so much innuendo, so little time.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, the innuendo in that movie is like getting hit with a hammer. You got to be kidding me. Innuendo. There was nothing subtle about
See,
Airplane.
that was what's good about it. Here's a joke. If you don't get it, here's another one. 3 seconds later, right? Yeah, all of a sudden you have June Cleaver jiving, with the brothers, right? So what's next, right? Yeah, that was a
Hey,
good. First
I
one
got a
was great.
question.
Go ahead.
What actual film did they kind of do the spoof off of for Airplane?
I know
And
it.
who starred in it?
I know
Airport.
it. Airport. Yeah.
Charleston Heston.
No. 0 Hour with Dana Andrews.
Oh, yeah.
Same kind of format. And Sterling Hayden's in it. And there's a scene where he says, "This is the wrong week for me to stop smoking cigarettes."
Stop sniffing
Yeah.
glue.
But it was. But
he
it was.
doesn't get to the glue or the cocaine or anything.
That wasn't Sterling Hayden, though. That was
He's looking at it.
the guy who did Undersea Bridges.
Lloyd Bridges was
No,
in.
it was
in
actually,
Airplane.
I just saw the film and I just double checked it here. It is Sterling Hayden.
Okay.
The,
Yeah, but in
yep.
Airplane, it was Lloyd Bridges, right? Yeah, who says that famous line. So is it a comedy? Is it a comedy switch? It's not a comedy.
No,
is it?
it's a drama. It's like he was a World War II pilot and he had some kind of issues,
Okay.
shell shock issues or whatever, and he hasn't flown. And so they're in a commercial liner.
Yes.
And they have food poisoning. So everybody starts passing out, including the pilot and co-pilot.
Wow.
So he has to. And
Land
he's
the
got this
That's why
bad
they're not
rep.
supposed to eat the same thing.
This is
the,
leads right into the next
ones that
question.
ate the fish, man, they went down.
Yeah, don't eat the fish if you can't see the water. Look at even from 35,000 feet. All right, which leads us to question 10. This is Coco Palooza. 20 questions for the Cobra. Okay, so you're in
And
an
we
air-
squeeze it into 2 hours.
Yeah, I know. We have like about 9 hours prepared, but let's see what happens. All right, so you're in an airliner. You're a passenger from an
I don't have my
airliner.
timer going either.
All right,
That's your airliner.
we got to bring that in later. And they all eat poison food, as it turns out. Okay, including
Right. Is there a doctor on the plane? Is
screw
there a
the-
pilot
There's a
on the-
doctor.
Screw the
There's a
doctor.
doctor, and he's the one
Can
who's
anybody
figured
fly
out.
an airplane?
Yeah,
Is there a pilot on
that's
the
what I mean.
airplane?
Could you?
Well, not that is
Good, switch
right.
it.
Yes.
Could you, Coco? Could you land the plane? You're at 35,000 feet. The crew
Yes.
is out. You could sit and take over and land it.
Yes.
Freaking hey, man, that's cool.
So you'd be the hero and get all the chicks.
Right, like Doris Day in Airport. She landed the plane.
I don't remember
surprised-
Doris. I don't remember Doris Day.
Okay, me neither.
She wasn't in there.
Surprised that when you check in at the gate that you don't list some of those pilot attributes as part of
Right,
who's
he's
on
Because
here.
it never happens.
doctor, a pilot.
So,
It never happens.
but let me ask you this, okay?
I do know of I know of a couple commercial flights where
There
one
is.
of the pilots has died on the flight,
Yes.
and that's why you have the other pilot.
Have you ever
do
been
that.
asked? Have you
And
been asked?
taking nothing away from in an emergency situation like that? With
Right.
With my particular background, it wouldn't be pretty in some aspects.
What? The landing?
Because of some of the aspects. These planes, if you are with the least bit of coaching, you could probably make it work. I mean, what I'm saying is I wouldn't be trying to take it to a short strip. It would be a full-blown emergency. Most pilots with extensive backgrounds, experience could do the same thing.
Yes.
And if the conditions get better, if you have the ability to talk to somebody who can tell you where to go, what to look for, on the checklist, and do that.
Like in that scene from Mad World, remember that? They're trying to talk down Mickey Rooney and Buddy Hackett. And
oh my gosh, it's
one of the funniest scenes. Paul Ford, who was from Phil Silver's show, is trying to talk them down. He's trying to be a hero at the same time, and he's doing it all wrong. And you can just see this
it's a disaster.
long shot, and here's the plane coming right at the control tower. I mean, it's not special effects, coming right at it, and he has no awareness of it, and boom, right over the top. Great movie, funny movie. Once again, there's a joke every 2 minutes.
Kill people making that movie, I will never know.
Funny. Jonathan Winters, funniest guy in the world, and they match.
We're going to have to kill him. The two brothers from Low Mass that ran the gas station. We're going to have to kill him.
Arnold Stang, we're going to have to kill him.
And to Dick
he's
Shawn,
got him tied up with tires.
Right.
He's got him. That's how he locked them down, and then he runs the place over with their own tow truck.
And then to Dick Shawn, the beatnik, he says,
the best.
"What's all this cutout talk?"
Yeah. What's this cutout? Get out of here! They're digging the hole. But
are you British? Are you British? Is that a British accent?
Get out! Right? Yes. Look at
Dick Shawn, who died on stage. You have to salute Dick Shawn.
Yep. Funny.
Here he is doing his stand-up routine. Drops dead on stage. People thought it was part of the act because he just fell forward and stopped talking on stage. People sat there for about 3-4 minutes before they realized, oh my God, this is not part of the act.
Curtain. Yeah.
Dick Shawn.
He in this movie.
Springtime for Hitler, baby. Springtime for Hitler.
You got to see it. He is such a nut, and in Mad World too. He's just a nut, and you say this guy's acting. Can you imagine that?
Crying with
yeah.
Ethel Merman is his mother.
He's
worried about his mom.
Right. Yeah. I'm coming to get you, Mama. That is so funny. That is just
that's why mamas have boys, because boys are going to come and get their mama when they're in trouble.
You couldn't
get your mama.
But it took a while for her to drag him away from the bikini. Remember the chick? All she's doing is dancing to some jazz. She's in a bikini. She's expressionless.
Yeah.
Got a cigarette going. And he's like, It's just a funny.
Oh baby, yeah, baby.
Yeah, funny movie. Just a funny
crazy movie.
Yeah,
it's a crazy movie. But Sid Caesar.
Sid Caesar's
in the plane. And the cars are out distancing
in the
plane.
biplane. Yes, right. Edie Adams is his wife. Man, she's beautiful. And
just one more explosion.
Yeah.
All we need to do is one more tiny explosion.
Right. And they wind up in a Chinese laundry.
And all the cameos.
Yeah, sure.
Think about all the cameos in
Stooges.
it. Jack Benny, for like 3 seconds.
Yeah. Stooges are in
incredible.
it for about 3 seconds.
Mac, you are our resident expert. You're the pro on the staff here.
No.
Do you see any possible way that movie could be made today?
No way. You know why?
No, there aren't enough funny people.
There's not enough funny people.
That, could.
I think you're right. One.
I could see them making it, but it would be terrible. It wouldn't be funny like they were funny. There's no Jonathan Winters. There's no Buddy Hackett.
Guys
there's no Phil Silver.
Who are alleged comedians would not be funny enough to, in a natural way, to do this movie.
No, I can think of a few people I think could carry the roles out, but they're long gone.
Very few. I mean, and I was like a huge fan of this guy, but, a lot of that died with Robin Williams, frankly.
Oh, absolutely.
That whole kind of Jonathan Winters.
The guy that played Kramer on
but he ruined his
Seinfeld.
He could do some stuff.
He could. He had a physical comedy side to him.
Yeah, sure.
Nothing was forced for that guy.
Yeah, I mean,
he ruined his own career.
Robin Williams, though, my God, the guy was absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
every movie he's in, you're laughing. Even movies that were somewhat serious.
Well, here's the thing, though. You know why? I mean, it's a case of knowing too much. But I knew the guy who was the IT for Robin Williams, and Robin Williams lived in Connecticut. Okay, this is going back some time now, guys. Right? 80s. Go 80s, the Reagan years. And I knew this guy pretty well. And he said Robin Williams was the most miserable guy in the world. Not just, not just what was me, but, he was just, do this, do that, hey, this, and demanding and so on. He was just like so wrapped up in his career, I guess. I don't know. They say comedians are always like really, sorry people and, they're not laughing all the time and so on. So I have to take it with a grain of salt. But he was great. He was like Jonathan Winters too. That's where he got his act from. And he was funny. He was funny, and he went the bad way.
Robin Williams was kind of an uptight guy?
He was very uptight, uptight. Oh. Had a lot of money, and then as it turned out, while my friend was doing this, and he'd see him maybe once every 2 months or so, right? He'd call him up and say, come out and fix this. Similar to what you're going to do tomorrow, Juan, as it turns out,
I guess.
Right? So,
who knows what I'm going to be fixing tomorrow?
Hey, take it off there. Yeah, so he just wasn't he wasn't this happy-go-lucky guy enjoying stuff,
really?
Yeah. So
Horrible.
Anyway, yeah. So but anyway, that whole to answer your question, no. No, they anything they remake these days, it's not as good, and they bring these people, like all these movie stars in, and they're terrible. Midway is a perfect example. That movie Pearl Harbor, perfect example. These guys, they're flying airplanes and stuff, and they look like male models of the 90s, They just don't get it right, except Kate Beckinsale. She was perfect.
Kate Beckinsale made that movie.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. The Japanese...
The 3-hour sneak attack on a love triangle.
They can bomb again.
For doing the business.
Bomb us again. We don't care. Okay, next question.
That movie put Kate Beckinsale on the map, and everybody was able to pronounce her last name, too.
Yeah, right. You ain't kidding.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Kate Beckinsale.
It's more than
my heart beckons for you.
It's more than 2 syllables. Okay, so listen, let's see. I think we're at question.
What's hot? Still is.
Number 8.
Juan needs water. Oh, no, number 9. I have number 9. And what it is
that's right. It's
number 9.
Yeah.
Go ahead, switch it.
Goes to number 10.
You go ahead. Go ahead, switch.
Okay. Commander Cobra. Have you ever gone supersonic?
Yes.
We are talking about in a jet or a plane. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And describe what it was like. What were the circumstances?
It was flying in the Air Force. It was part of training, and it was a great experience to say that I did it. But I have to tell you that it was a bit of a letdown because it was just so easy. It happened, and it was a kind of a cool thing. I much would prefer to talk about different aerobatic maneuvers or formation flights that I did that were much more engaging than supersonic flight. But it was a very cool thing to have in the logbook. I did it a couple times. In fact.
I have another quick question. Have you ever been on the Vomit Comet?
No.
Okay.
But I have, not the one you're referring to for NASA for training.
Intentionally.
No, but I have caused my own small Vomit Comet with students over the years who got sick in the plane. So,
let me just explain to people that
the worst one I remember was
tell people
the young man. He didn't get his helmet. He didn't get his mask away from his helmet in time, and I got to listen to him.
There we go.
As he filled the helmet mask, it was, and I'm breathing almost pure oxygen at that point because I'm psychologically believing I can smell it. So it's absolutely killing me. I don't want to get into a sympathetic.
Nice.
I don't have a lot of brains, but I was blessed with a good stomach.
Cool.
And but the smell on a warm afternoon in the south can really make it happen.
You really know how to paint the picture. Wow. Hey, listen. But let me ask you this though. So the Vomit Comet, we should explain, is this airplane. It's a jet airliner, a reused jet airliner. And what NASA does was, and there's no way in the friggin', I hate flying, but to do this, you got to be crazy. What happens is that they go up to really high altitude, and they fly almost straight up. And once they get up to the kind of peak of this,
Well,
they turn over. They turn over and they come almost straight down. And what happens? It creates artificial non-gravity. Okay, it creates artificial weightlessness. And when you see them in the plane, when you see them, the video of this, and they're floating around, and it looks crazy. What you don't realize is that they're in an airliner basically heading straight down, right, Cokie?
It's not quite as dramatic on the nose up and nose down as it looks when you look from the outside. And you're flying basically a parabolic curve, and when you get to the top of that, you're basically unloading the airplane, which makes it weightless. And 10 to 15 seconds, maybe a little bit more. On the inside of the cabin, there's a section where they basically have it all padded, so you can float around and experience what weightlessness is like.
Mm-hmm.
Certain times in helicopters that I was in, if we entered the auto rotation fast enough, you'd get the same kind of feeling for the guys in the back.
Interesting.
And if they were on gunner's belts, I had guys that would do like backflips because they were weightless. They could just float around and it comes back pretty quick.
Okay. We mentioned auto.
So what you're doing is you're just getting you're getting weightless because you're just put enough force against gravity.
We had this.
Interestingly enough, that's also a maneuver that you'll do in tactical type airplanes if you want to maximize your acceleration. You'll actually unload the airplane, bring it to a 0G or a slightly negative G condition,
right,
and then apply maximum power, and the plane will accelerate its fastest because you're getting maximum thrust, and the plane doesn't weigh anything, literally does not weigh anything for a couple seconds.
Yes.
So you get this max acceleration.
Yes.
Wow.
I got to say two things real quick. First of all, we are a radio show, but Switchy is entertaining us with his background images, and what we're looking at now, which leads us to another thing we were talking about. It's oh, wow, Switchy, woofa. What'd you have for breakfast? Fake vomit, or is it? I mean, talk about a marketing phrase. Fake vomit, or is it? And we were saying, how do you save seats at a theater? You don't want anyone sitting beside you, in front of you. There you go, baby. No one's going to get anywhere near you. Okay.
Remember the joke shop in Boston? What was the name of that
Jack's.
joke?
Oh, God, I love that shop.
Jack's.
Oh, my God, that shop was a mecca for all of us.
Jack's Joke Shop. Right off
Jack's Joke Shop.
Right off of the Common.
Of
yeah. Nuts, man. That was nutty.
They had the fake vomit.
Yeah. Oh, they had. They
had fake vomit in different levels and styles.
Yeah. What you have to eat.
I mean, you didn't have to go with the economy. If you had the extra pull, you could be there with the deluxe.
There you go, the deluxe fake vomit. We used to do is we'd hook school, we go to Jack's Joke Stop, and then we go down to Downtown Lounge and have a $12 beer. Right? Remember that place? Anyway. You had to put your school bags at the door, though. You know what I mean? Anyway, this is Coco's hour, so let's go.
Oh, man. That's when Boston was really Boston,
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Next question.
It's toned down now.
Yes.
Family friendly now.
It's family friendly. Go ahead, please, Switchy.
It's the friendly city.
Yes.
Oh, the next one is number 8. What is the worst place you've ever landed?
What's the worst place you ever had to land?
Are we asking the worst landing or the worst place?
I think the worst place.
Worst landing can be at the best place. Worst place that I've ever landed. That's there was a couple spots in Iraq that were very special.
Yes.
One of the places that we worked out of, the runway was basically a road, and they would come out of the fob and meet us, and generally helicopters would land there. And that was a little extra special.
Yes.
For a landing place. There's been a couple places in the United States that were a little less than hospitable when I got there, from like services or what was available.
Yes.
I worst places. Goodness gracious. There was a couple places in the Arctic that were extra special.
Yes.
Landed at Valdez, and I thank everyone in Valdez, Alaska that maintains that airport. We landed there in a snowstorm. There was no one there. We were able to get fuel by credit card. They left the door unlocked to their building so I could make phone calls.
Nice.
Wow.
And we took off and kept heading north to get to Dead Horse, Alaska. That may come up later in the program if we ever get to that part of the program, the night show. There was a couple ships I landed on that were pretty rough shape.
Yes.
We got to the ship and spent the night.
Yes.
And again, a couple oil rigs I landed on in the Gulf of Mexico and a couple other places in the world that were a little bit dicey, but the people were phenomenal. I mean, they would always feed us. They would always take care of us when we were there. They'd help us chain the helicopter down so it would still be there when we came back up and the wind didn't blow it off the flight deck.
I got to say this. We're going to take
That's a hard one to answer.
Rig.
Go ahead.
I didn't know about the oil rig missions. What did you do there in the oil rig?
We sometimes do rescues for oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico, people that were on the rigs that would get in need of medevac.
Okay.
And if the weather was bad and the people, my hat's off to the men and women that fly the support for oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico. It's tough, hard flying for helicopter pilots. It's demanding work and they make it look easy.
Yes.
But a lot of times for medevacs, we would use it. And other times we would use the oil rigs because they carried jet fuel on them for their helicopters as a way to leapfrog out further. So on a couple nights, I remember in really not good weather, because that's usually when the Coast Guard likes to send us out.
Yes.
Landing on oil rigs, taking fuel, and then flying out another couple 100 miles to meet a ship to pick up the person that needed to be medevac.
Okay.
Flying back and not having enough fuel to make it back, so you land on the oil rigs again and leapfrog all the way back, and then usually meet an ambulance someplace on the shore.
Do you ever fly potty girls?
They'll do the transfer.
Ever fly potty girls out to those oil rigs?
No, never flew party girls out. I did have the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders in the 80s on the helicopter. They were in Europe visiting.
Yes.
And they came on board. They were on the helicopter.
Freaking Coco.
And I did have Miss Belgium or Miss Luxembourg.
Listen to this guy.
I really.
I knew it.
Really? Yeah. He had the Dallas, just so calmly casual. I had the Dallas Cheerleaders on my helicopter.
Yeah. How many Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders?
I think it was 6 or 7 of them.
He doesn't even know the real number.
You lost track.
My lack of following that sport one. But these were really nice women. They were just really nice gals.
In what sport were they cheerleading?
I believe it's what you call here in the colonies football.
Football.
Okay, Coco.
Yeah. Of course, in every place else in the world, that's soccer. But
and they probably liked it. They probably, it was refreshing to talk to someone who didn't know whether they blow it up with air or stuff it with feathers. Anyway.
Are we still talking about the football?
No, why don't we do? Hang on. There's a joke in there somewhere. Why don't we do this? Let's take a commercial break now. This is Coco the Palooza. Everything you ever want to know about Coco, we're asking him tonight. So why don't we take a commercial break now?
You didn't rescue any Playboy bunnies from...
we don't know. We got another half hour to go.
Wisconsin at that...
Under Siege?
Yes.
No, I did not do that, but I did meet a gal that was in Penthouse who was at the Officers Club in Nellis Air Force Base, Las Vegas, Nevada.
You know, they made the rounds. I at the Enlistmen's Club, as a matter of fact, one of the Playboy bunnies, like a cover girl chick or something, made the rounds.
I should have gone in the service. Listen to you guys. You're in movies. You're meeting the cheerleaders. You're meeting the Playboy bunnies and everything. You're done in Newport.
That was important for the services, is to have entertainment like in that design. You know
listen, let me remind you someone here. Switchy's a person. He spent 4 years under the water.
I know.
Right?
I couldn't do
Switch.
it. I had the opportunity to go to
only about 3, actually.
3, actually.
Even less than that, because we were in the shipyard for a while.
Serving. Okay, he wasn't out running around with the Dallas Cheerleaders, was he?
He was in a Nuki boat, right?
Yep.
And wouldn't see the light of day for years.
See?
We were on the Fast Attack. You don't. It's not the boomers.
Yes.
The Fleet Ballistic Missile subs will go down for several months, long patrols. We would. The longest I was down was only about 23 days. So we could go out of the calendar year that I reported on board.
Yes.
I was out and they were out 40 weeks out of the year.
Whoa.
Could be 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Yep.
A weekend. 2 weeks, 5 days. You just never knew.
When would
Under
you
the
know?
polar ice caps, you can't come up anyway.
We had the capability of smashing through the ice.
Okay.
So I never got up there.
But
I
when
got
would
past the
you
Arctic
know?
Circle,
When
but
would-
not under the ice.
When would they tell you? When would they tell you? Well, this is going to be a 7-day journey. This is going to be a 4-week journey. Do you
we,
ever
we
know?
knew ahead of time.
They tell you.
We didn't know much ahead of time, but
Yeah.
we knew when we went out. We knew how long we were going to be out.
Okay, yeah, huh? Wow, really? My hat's
Mack,
off
you
to
could
you.
do that.
Just the no way. The claustrophobic aspect of that.
Yeah,
No,
I couldn't do it.
not me. So anyway,
You don't even think about it. You got too many things to worry about.
yeah, I think about it all the time. So this will be Switchy Palooza next week.
Yeah.
So Lou, why don't we do this? Why don't we take we'll take a commercial break now. Where
Hey, Mac, ask me about my worst landing. But go ahead.
your worst what? Say it.
My worst landing. It wasn't in a plane.
Wow.
It was falling on my arse.
Can I
but,
tell you something?
Anyway,
You said a lot
I can
tonight
imagine,
with
yeah.
with some interesting editing. Who knows what will happen? Look at. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take the commercial break now? Coco, you're still with us, right? The man of the hour?
Absolutely. Just
Okay.
taking notes. Just making
Coco's
notes.
having a few laughs.
Taking notes. Okay. Are you drinking
Yeah.
wine? Are you drinking bourbon? What are you drinking?
I'm on a Yingling Black and Tan tonight. Yingling Black and Tan.
that weird beer company from Pennsylvania. Anyway, we should get them as a sponsor.
Oldest brewery in the United States.
That's what they say. But do you really want beer from the oldest brewery in the United States? What's the upside of that?
I like their Black and Tan. I think it's excellent.
Okay. All right.
I guess the upside is really old beer,
Yeah. Who wants that?
right?
Anyway, why don't we do this?
Aged in old casks
That isn't what you want.
in Old Town.
You want fresh beer. You want beer that be fresh. Isn't that the angle?
It
All
was
the
like,
Yingling lovers out there, I
Yes.
assure you that my Black and Tan is very fun.
Here
I
I
have to
am.
try it. I don't think I've ever had it.
I'm asking the guy who would drink chocolate beer, right? I actually sat next to him drinking a chocolate
Yeah.
beer. I can't believe it.
Chocolate and coffee.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Chocolate and coffee beer. It's excellent.
Sounds good. Why don't
It's
we
excellent.
let's take a break right now? And you're listening to Mack Maloney's Mill Tracks show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Coco Palooza. Coco is the man of the night. We're asking all the questions we wanted to ask him for the past 5 years. We'll be right back after this. Let me introduce the members of the posse. Let me just say, girls, yes, the very famous Juan is here.
Hello, girls. Hello, Mac. Great show so far.
He's getting in the mood, drinking
I love
macadam.
Coco
What are
Palooza.
you drinking? What's the name of that stuff? Oh, it looks expensive.
Macallan 15.
Wow, 15, not 14. It's finger licking good, it sounds
Nope,
like.
not 10, not 12, at 15.
Wow. Okay. All right. How much does that go a
It's the
bottle?
spot.
Hits the spot. What's it, about 150
I
a bottle?
think New Hampshire about $1.20 or something.
Wow.
I forget, some crazy number like that.
Okay, that is kind of crazy.
I know it.
Yeah. I feel bad buying the big bottle of Jack Daniels. So, okay. Up there in the Great White North, in his compound, formerly his bunker, is the man of the hour, Coco Palooza. They can know him as Coco on the street. We know him as Commander Cobra. Coco.
As always, Mac, it is a real privilege to cruise formation
Yes.
with the various members of Mac Maloney's military.
At supersonic speeds,
That's
by the way.
supersonic
As,
speed.
as required, as
Yeah.
required.
As
Unbelievable.
right. Yes. The hell with the fuel. Speaking of that, we want to go up to our national correspondent up there in Battle Creek, Michigan, Switchblade Steve Ward, Switchy.
it is great to be here tonight.
Wow. He just tore his glasses
Flying his
off.
crop duster.
No, going after Cary Grant, right? Is that the famous crop duster? The image in the back, right?
Well, it's not the famous, but it's I just watched that the other day, North by Northwest.
Oh, yeah, huh?
Cary Grant gets lured to the I guess it's the cornfields of Kansas,
Yes.
or maybe it's Illinois. I don't know.
Yeah.
And gets attacked by a crop duster.
By a biplane.
Great scene.
It's one of the best
It is.
scenes ever. In North by Northwest, this is a spoiler alert, but Cary Grant, for whatever reason, is told to take a bus out in the middle of, I think it's Kansas, out in the middle of nowhere. And all it is they drop him off at a corner, and there's nothing but cornfields all around him, really, right? And he's looking around. What's going on? And way in the background, you see the crop duster.
First, Mac, it's the slow buildup. There's a car that comes along the highway.
Thinks
then
it's for
another
him.
one. Then another car comes up and drops off a guy.
Yeah,
And
right.
So he's looking for a guy, George Kaplan, who, of course, spoiler alert, doesn't exist. So he walks across the street and he says, "Are you George Kaplan?" And the old timer says, "Can't say I am because I ain't."
Oh, there you go.
And then he says, "But the funny thing, that crop duster is dusting crops where there ain't no crops."
There you go. That's, you never want to hear that. But in the scene where you're, as in the lead up, you can see way off in the distance, you can see the crop duster going back and forth. And the first time you see the movie, you just think, well, he's crop dusting, and then it turns out that he's basically like a little fighter plane, and he's going to shoot Cary Grant, right? And all of a sudden, Cary Grant is like, I'm kind of effed here. But great movie, Alfred Hitchcock. Not a nice guy, not a nice human being. But he could make, and not the perfect editor or the perfect scene, he didn't really put...
Really, Mac, I'm surprised you say that, because I thought his editing, was held, that he was
not,
one of the great editors, really.
Not in, editing, he was great editing Psycho, okay? When,
Oh, my Lord.
As they say in...
he had to be possessed when he did that one.
In film school, as they say, you think you're seeing a woman stabbed in the shower. You never see the woman being stabbed.
No, never,
Of course not. No.
You see the knife, you see the blood going down the drain, you see her face, but you watch it and
It's
you
actually
go...
Hershey's chocolate syrup going down the drain.
Yeah,
It's in black and white.
Janet Leigh, yeah. And it's like, but when you first see it, and I remember when I went to go see it, it was like the movie to see. And the movie your parents didn't want you to see, so we snuck in somehow. That's a frightening scene, man. It's hard to get over that and then watch the rest of the movie, with a carefree attitude. But he's great like that. He's really good like that suspense. But there are some scenes in his movie that don't seamlessly go, or the storyline doesn't seamlessly go from one part to the other, is what I'm saying. How's that? How's that one for film school?
Okay, I like it. All right.
Okay. All right. So next
I know
question.
they don't call that continuity. Continuity is like from scene to scene and having everything all lined up.
Right. Yeah. It's
facial expressions.
It should be the continuity of the director.
The time when the clock on the wall is fairly close to the time of the scene.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You have to do that.
I like
yeah.
it when there's a scene where there's a clock on the wall that says 7:15, and then the next breath,
right?
It's like, 3:30.
Yeah, you should. The best thing to do is don't have the clock in the scene. Believe me,
Get that clock off the wall.
Yeah, you don't want to have the clock.
Yeah, it broke up my whole continuity. I hate bad continuity. You know me.
But
I'm a continuity freak.
You? Where's Juan? What have you done with him? Anyway, let's get back to the questions. Coco Palooza. Let's get back to the questions. Switch, please.
Okay. Weren't you going to do the next one? Or was I going to do the next one?
Okay, I can do it.
Oh, you were going to do the next one about music, right?
All right. Do you ever listen to music?
I'm doing the next one. Okay.
Do you ever listen to music while you're flying? Like if you're flying just by yourself, do you have music in the buds? Do you? Okay.
Yeah, sometimes in the old days, you'd carry it with you when like Walkmans and things were, and we had actually cassette tapes. Kids, you need to get the iPhones and look that up and Google what cassette tapes were.
No idea what he's talking about.
So now on some of the airplanes, you can actually get entertainment media. Same time I'm getting like weather and navigation information on the satellite stream. I can actually pick up some music.
Is that wise?
Or like news talk or stuff like that.
It's really talk radio? Is that wise to have the pilot listening to talk radio?
You can
as
talk radio.
Flying?
Sure. Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can pop in there.
Okay.
I've got a Sony Walkman, AM/FM cassette.
Yeah, but you're not flying.
Well, there you go. One.
Are you flying an airplane?
Thanks for joining the party.
What'd you get at a yard sale?
I still have. I love that Walkman. I have a mini disc Walkman as well.
Really? Yeah, mini disc. Yeah. I remember those.
Never seen one of those.
Yeah, but they were around though. They were around for a while.
They called it a Walkman too, and it was so the ripping of CDs to put on your mini disc.
Yes.
Was a total proprietary software. Sony owned it.
Interesting.
And they're the only ones that had it.
Okay. One Palooza. So look at
There you go.
All right, so you listen to music, but how can you separate it from all the chatter? That's another question I want to ask you. How can you
a lot of
understand?
times there isn't a lot of chatter, Mac.
Okay.
Like, when I was flying from coast to coast to get to the work locations,
Yes.
various secret missions, there's a lot of times when you're just flying and you're not talking to anybody. You don't have constant, as long as you're staying on the course that you've set up for the flight plan.
Okay.
And you have the primary radios, and you have places that you have to make connections, or you're told to switch to the next controller,
Yes.
area.
Yes.
You have that on the background. And
Yes.
in most of the really good systems, as soon as they call, it blocks out that music.
Oh,
so
oh,
that
good.
the
Okay. Yeah.
radios take priority over what's going on with it. So
Good. Switchy. This leads right into the next question, please. 20 questions for Coco. Everything you want to know. Coco Palooza. Switchy.
And this is the question that everybody wanted to know first. How do you go to the bathroom when you're piloting long flights?
it depends on the particular type of aircraft.
It depends on depends.
As it goes.
Okay.
As it goes. And I actually, there's a couple funny adjuncts to this story.
I'll bet.
So you have, sometimes you have a thing called a piddle pack, which is basically a kind of like a Ziploc bag. It has a small sponge in it. You kind of loosen up all the seat belts and everything,
wow.
and you get yourself positioned, and you kind of, you end up relieving yourself into the bag. And then, of course, you seal it up. My personal favorite because in Iraq, we were constantly bringing and drinking water.
Yes.
And you did not sweat it all out.
Go ahead.
I preferred to carry a detergent bottle because it didn't require nearly as much physical maneuvering in the plane. And then I'd have a nice secure cap because you wouldn't want anything to happen after you've done that.
You say a detergent bottle
inside the plane?
A detergent bottle? A detergent bottle?
Sure. Yeah,
it has a wide enough opening too.
Yeah, and it's nice smooth plastic.
How do you know?
And you can hang it with one hand while you're still flying the aircraft.
What, like Tide or something, like a Tide plastic jug?
Yeah, like one of those. Yes, ma'am.
Huh.
I don't like to throw name brands.
It's a large economy size.
Unless you're working some kind of an angle for a sponsorship, but I don't think you can tell Tide that I was peeing in their bottles. It's going to really work out for them to come across with a big green fire. But
did you?
I don't mean to tell you that. Now, the other part of relieving yourself, that's going to be adult diaper time. There's just no getting around that. Now, I had a couple of times, I had obviously female flight students, and I had female crew members.
Question 3.
They have a small adapter gear that they will use.
Don't say
sometimes
that.
It can be really embarrassing.
Don't.
So I would do something like I would hang a towel between us to separate it so they could have a couple of minutes of privacy.
Coco, the gentleman.
Most of the gals I work with, you got to the point where you were somewhat dehumanized, or you were.
Wait a second. Can I stop you?
It was just something you had to do, and you got it done, and then just went on to the next thing.
This is sound like a DC comic.
It's really glamorous in any way.
It's not. And it's a big deal because pilots often suffer from kidney stones because of not passing, because they hold it for such a long time.
Okay, listen, hold on. Let's stop.
This is an issue that's becoming an issue.
Stop. Okay, so we have to ask you this question, okay? First of all, the planes, aren't you talking about planes that when you're in the cockpit, they're like the size of a Volkswagen Bug, apparently, approximately?
Yeah.
Small.
Sometimes you're sitting side by side. Obviously, when you had a tandem cockpit,
sure, they're behind you. Okay.
Separated from, fore and aft.
So you're saying that you have flown long distances with a female pilot in the other seat, just literally inches away, and you've put up a towel between you and her, and she's done her business? Yep. I'll take Coco. Let's clap for Coco, please. Come on, can we just have some?
Yeah, clap loud for Coco.
He's like Clark Gable, and it happened one night, except in the air. Coco?
I've actually held the vomit bag for crew members in the other seat as well. So and then pass them the water and the paper towels to kind of clean up.
There's no way, boy. How can you not impress a girl? With.
I'll hold your vomit bag.
Hold her hair back. I've held some hair
I'll do
back
anything for you. Hold your vomit bag.
Never a vomit bag. He stopped us. Well,
yeah.
Only Coco.
That's pretty good.
All right, why don't we do this? Next question, Switchy, please.
I think the next question is kind of along the same. Well,
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if it's along the same lines or not.
How many Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders did you teach how to fly?
Wow.
Well,
Here's
that's
the
sort of the question is:
Right.
Have you ever brought a female passenger with you for a joyride?
I think he's already answered that in the previous question.
Yes, I mean that doesn't seem the least bit surprising.
Huh.
Okay.
Obviously, my favorite female passenger was Mrs. Cobra. Next question.
Okay.
All right.
Good answer.
Hang on. Let's see.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, it just has to go into this
you
one.
want to do the next question, Matt?
I guess I'm going to have to. We know what the Mile
Number
High.
4.
Yeah. We know what number 4. We know what the Mile High Club is. What's the 10 Mile High Club?
No comment.
Oh, okay. I was going to say you can make it up if you want, but I like that. No comment. Okay, let's see. So, number 3.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. Number 3, Switchy.
When you flush, we're on the same subject here, I guess. When you flush the toilet on an airliner, is it ejected out of the plane?
They just ejected.
Not
It's just
since not since the 1940s, 50s.
Okay.
Do you have
All right.
open air toilets?
really open in.
Because I've heard you've flown over Mack's house a few times.
No, wait a minute.
Early
hold on.
early airline. Well, now that you're
It's
going
not-
there, I will share a very cute story that ties into an earlier question that you asked.
Go ahead.
So on airliners, that is contained.
Yes.
What has happened in the past that there has been leaks from that is a blue chemical that it goes into
Yes.
the tank where like in a pottage jar. So there has been ice formations of this outside of the airplane that will break off. And
Right.
they have actually killed people
Really?
in the years where
Boy.
this large chunk of ice from the airliner will come down and kill.
Listen, I just got to ask you
has
this.
happened.
I just got to ask you this. It is God must really hate you if you get hit with some, blue ice, packed with urine and who knows what else, and it hits you and kills
Yeah.
you. Right? I mean, you must have done something. Go ahead, please, Coco. Sorry to interrupt.
Next part on that, this business that Twitch was alluding to over Mack's house.
Yeah.
I had
Yes.
at one point in my career, I had a West Point graduate in the back of one of the airplanes I was flying. We were flying over Annapolis, pretty high altitude, and he said, "Oh, circle here." And what he was doing was taking a leak because he was a West Pointer over Annapolis because he wanted to Army Navy business going on.
Okay, all right. That's a
Years
big-
later, I had a Navy Academy grad in the back of the aircraft. We're over West Point along the river,
Yes.
and we circle over West Point. He does the same.
Now
thing.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, so now twice in your career you've
pretty cool.
brought people up so they can urinate. Are they outside of the? Are they urinating outside the airplane itself?
Yes, they are.
What,
there's a relief tube in most of those airplanes, and it doesn't retain the. As you were asking if it dropped on the ground.
Okay.
In some airplanes, it does just go out of the airplane.
Well,
It's a relief
That's not
tube?
right. That's a great
Yes.
name for a band, Relief Tube.
Yeah. Would you like to hear? Would you like to hear a really classic story about
Yes.
a relief tube?
In
Yeah.
Okay,
2
so
minutes. 2
in
minutes.
the helicopters, it was and bigger airplanes. We have crews. You have relief tubes. You had them up for the pilots in their seats.
Yes.
You had one in the back for the rest of the crew.
Yes.
So it was a real funny joke when those earplugs used to come out. Those soft styrofoam earplugs. Guys would shove the earplug down in there so that it would kind of block the tube. So if somebody used it, it would drain really slowly. Okay. So
Wow.
I was flying on the wing in a helicopter with a very good friend, and we were flying into Belgium. We were delayed because the weather was horrible coming out of England to do this tactical insertion. And I know we're getting close to the spot where we're going to do this assault type landing, where
Go
you
ahead.
basically bring these two big helicopters into this field.
Yes.
You come in really fast, you flare, you land, the ramp goes down, the guys run out. Well, we're getting close, and he hasn't given me the signal to get into the position where I should be. He still has to be in a wing position.
Yes.
Where I should be more trailed at this point.
1 minute.
I fly up alongside, and I'm looking into the cockpit, and I see this argument between him and the other pilot.
Not good.
And then I slide back, get the signal, we land. Well, what had happened was he had drank a lot of coffee, he had to use the relief tube. It wouldn't drain. He had to actually do the landing, so he wanted the other pilot to hold that relief tube while he did the landing. The guy basically told him to, F himself, obviously.
Yes.
That he was going to hold that. So what he did is he put his hand over the top of the relief tube and he blew into it to get it to go through. I don't even want to tell you what his call sign was after that. So next question.
I can guess.
That's fantastic.
Wow, that's a great story.
Next question.
Yeah. Okay. Listen. So
That's above and beyond the Call of Duty.
We're
is it
coming.
not?
Yeah, you should get a medal for that one, but they don't have medals for that.
Just go see Airplane. Look, let's go to the last question. I mean, the very last question has to do with something with Michael Bay, his dogs, and his scrotum or something. No, that's Carl's, not those. Right? But the question I want to ask you, the last question, we're getting to the end of Coco Palooza, okay? We've asked him 20 questions tonight. He's managed to answer all of them, plus some extras too. So let me ask you this, though. Coco, okay, last question. Do you think when the day comes where Switch is going to be the employee for the day at Sweetwater's Donuts Mill in Battle Creek, Michigan, do you think he's going to be able to handle it? Do you think he's going to, stand up to the pressure?
Oh, no doubt.
Really?
No doubt. No
Okay.
doubt. First of all, he's going to carry the Mack Maloney Military X-File guide on
That's
into
the
battle
problem.
there
That's the problem.
valiantly. There's no doubt about that.
Go ahead.
The
He's going.
standard.
I expect, and when it comes to the culinary combat arts,
Go ahead.
there's nobody on the staff here at Mack Maloney's Military X-Files that has more hands-on ability to take this on. And he's very personable. He's a very personal man, so I think he's going to do well with the public. I think he's going to have the face. Obviously, no one can be the metrosexual that 1-1 is in this situation. But honestly, I'm not sure 1-1 could pull off the delivery of the donut and the small talk. 1-1 would have to be the front guy.
Are you
He'd have to be on the other side of the no doubt. I think Switch. This is the man, the
Let me ask you
mission,
something. Why?
and the time.
Why are you pulling the pin? Why are you pulling the pin out of the hand grenade with 2 minutes to go in the show? 1-1, I'd be offended. I think those are inappropriate.
I am offended. I'd be the Baryshnikov of the donut industry. I'd be back and forth, swishing and swaying with a dozen donuts of multiple varieties.
I've always thought of you kind of on the ballerina side. Thank
You
you,
bet.
Ron, for
You bet.
confirming
You
your
gotta see me in
feelings.
tights.
Tutu
You
included.
gotta see me in tights.
How?
And I'd be presenting that dozen donuts like a bouquet of flowers.
Wow, interesting. How about that? Let's do a play.
Tights in the tutu.
Yeah, ballet about donuts. No one's ever done it before, I'm sure.
It's all about it with donuts, as it is
Musical
with flowers
ballet
and
about
food. It's all
donuts.
about presentation.
Okay, listen, before we go now, I have
Instead
to...
of tutus, they'll have donuts. What you're saying is the ballerinas would have donuts instead of tutus.
Listen,
Perfect.
You know what? I'd
Thing writes
drive all
itself
the way
back.
up there to do that. I would drive all the way up there if I had an opportunity to do that.
Me too, yeah.
Wow.
I'd
Road
love to
trip
see that.
to
Right.
Sweetwater.
Thank you, Coco. I appreciate you
Wow.
mentioning while having. Yeah. Yep. Still a favorite, as it turns out. So anyway, thank you, Coco, and thank you for your service. You don't want to mention to people that you wrote me a 20-page, single-line, both-side complaint letter.
Scathing critique.
Legal pad.
Legal pad.
Scathing critique.
It went on and on and on and
on
on.
the technical flaws.
Yeah, right. And on the end, he gave
You
me
still have it, Mac?
Oh, of course, I have it
But yet, Mac
hanging up
called
in my
me.
room. Yes,
Yet-
yeah. Well, because he
Yet
left his
Mac called
number,
me.
and I said it'd be easy for me to just call this guy, than to respond to this. Landing speeds of
That's
jets.
great.
3 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
In
There we go.
1993, I believe.
Put music behind this. Go ahead.
Phone rings. I'm making Christmas cookies with my son, who's now a Coast Guardsman himself.
There you go.
And I pick it up and I go, hello, and Merry Christmas. Hi, this is Mack Maloney. What's wrong with my books? That's how it started.
I think the operator said, "Will you accept the charges?"
Yeah, that's
Then
exactly-
right. Okay. Good.
Yeah, well,
great.
yeah. Well, I thought I could leave that out.
Remember that? I'm a collect call.
Mac, you're going to put some romantic music in.
Oh, it's
Right.
in there.
Cool.
It's already in there, brother. Believe me.
And you became
I figured.
his military advisor, technical editor, and that whole thing, right? At least initially.
Yeah, I guess you could say that if you want to dress up history.
You
that's
ran
fine.
some of those technical aspects of certain
What's
airplane
really
fire.
what's really exciting with Mack when
Yes.
he's working one of his projects
Wow.
is if I'm at the computer, he'll send me an email or a text,
That's
and he'll say, I'll need to do this, and it'll be something involving like an airplane or something like that. And I will come back and give him the example or give me some suggestions on how it could happen and things to go.
right.
And the part that, since we've gotten to know each other better over the years, he'll preface it sometimes. Look, I don't have all day to talk to you
I've
about
never
this.
said
I
that.
need this to fit. I need this to fit in like 5 sentences.
I've said
or a
that.
paragraph, okay.
I need it in a hurry. Yes, I've said that. But it's really
I
stuff
don't have
like,
all day for this.
but it's stuff like
You just give me some.
what survives a catastrophic crash of a B-52 bomber, and you gave me great advice: the engines and the landing gear, everything else.
The Mac would send me
Yeah,
quickies like about technology stuff.
but it's usually
I
about
want
ex-hamster.
to have a
there.
bad guy blow up the internet. Can I put a bomb in an RV in front of a building and
Right.
blow up the internet?
I don't remember that, FBI. If you're listening in, I don't remember really. But I've asked you what's the strange qualities of radio frequencies and stuff like that.
Right.
Yes,
Can certain radio frequencies fry your brain? Or can certain radio
Stuff
frequencies
and,
jam
can you hide
something?
stuff?
Yeah.
So
I get those
Coco,
kinds of emails. It's kind of cool to respond to them.
let's drag it back to Coco. Okay.
All right. Definitely.
Especially those replies about ex-hamster and how sometimes I can't get on. Thank you very much, Cece, for joining us. We appreciate it. We
you, sir.
appreciate your service in the military and also in Bad Boys 2.
I was in the military when I did that.
And also when you flew the Dallas Cheerleaders around. Were you gonna,
Right.
Yeah, okay, yep. And
First time I heard that story.
he should be, he's the comic book guy. He's the comic book
know.
guy. And we started off with him saving everyone in a commercial airliner, landing the plane, and so on. And then he comes out and he's in a uniform. He's got a cape. And with 2 C's on it instead of the big S.
So we can lose the cape, but he's got ribbons everywhere.
Ribbons like battle
He's
ribbons.
festooned with so many ribbons.
It's funny, but one, I never, unless I had to, I never wore all my ribbons. I only wore what we call top 3. I always
No,
thought it
but
looked-
Fruit
I've
salad.
seen your coat. I saw you.
Oh yeah,
your
you did.
coat.
You saw the coat. You
I
had
saw
a
the
coat.
coat in the office. I
Saw
went,
that.
Yeah, you had a
Oh.
coat feeling. That's
jeez.
Saw the coat. Where'd you see his coat? You mean
Like
his
George
uniform?
C. Scott and
Really? Yeah. Dr. Stranger? Okay, look.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, thank you, Coco, for letting us do this to you tonight. Coco Palooza. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Switchy. Really, really appreciate it. 2 pieces of rum cake into the day.
Yep, my pleasure.
Okay.
And I'm fasting tonight for my. They're going to withdraw blood from me tomorrow. for my
Okay.
physical.
Good luck with that. Hope the results come out well.
He's going to a
So I'll
vampire.
be counting the hours and minutes away where I cannot eat tonight.
Right. He's going to a vampire and not a doctor. And I just want to say he had
They
2.
say don't eat after midnight or something.
He said he
right?
was a doctor.
That's church. Yeah, that's the Catholic Church. Don't eat after midnight. Thank you, Switchy, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
My
we
pleasure.
like the look. We like the new look. Haircut,
do. You like the haircut?
shaved look. Yeah,
Well coiffed,
yeah,
well
really.
shaven.
I try to keep myself cleaned up a little bit now and then.
Now and then. Interesting. Okay. Thank you, and believe me, Switchy Palooza is coming very soon. Take it from me. Okay,
Oh,
so
no.
get ready for that.
No.
Yes. Thank you for joining us, JJ. Thank you as always.
You're welcome. I live for this. It's a pleasure.
Yes. Okay. We will see you tomorrow, but stay on so I can go down the list of rules. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
1,300 hours, right?
Correct. Yes. Coco, I will, if you stay on, I can talk to you as well. How's that? But we have to end the show.
Excellent.
We have to end the show. We have to say the plugs are this. Homes for Our Troops.
The plugs.
Homes for Our Troops. Just Google them. They are a military charity who build homes for disabled veterans from the Afghan and the Iraq War. And they build them to adapt to a lot of these people who are in wheelchairs or whatever. And then they just give them the key. No mortgage, nothing. They get the house for free and they deserve it. Homes for Our Troops. Just Google them. Also, the People's Mosquito Project, our good friend, Ross Sharp, and his Mad Englishman friends are rebuilding a mosquito warplane from World War II, made all of wood, almost, and they put 2 Rolls-Royce engines in it, and it became one of the fastest planes of World War II, and has a really great legacy, and they're putting it together, and they're going to give us rides in it once it's rebuilt. Talk about parachutes.
Yeah.
As I'm going to bring one.
I don't know if I'm going to do the ride. I'll wait for you to do it first.
Oh, I'm going to go first for a change? Okay. All right. Really? I thought Switch would go first, frankly.
If I have time on my extremely busy schedule.
Okay. All right. We put you down as a maybe. Also, we should say we're a podcast now, and we're on Stitcher. We're on Podbeam. We're on Apple Podcasts.
We're everywhere. Even Alexa knows about us.
Yep. Alexa. Just ask Alexa, please.
And don't forget, though, Seacoast Oldies has its app as well.
Thank you.
Right, Seacoast Oldies.
Seacoast Oldies for up and down the New England coast. We are now on their mobile app. So download Seacoast Oldies mobile app, and you hear us just like a real radio show. And it only took 5 years. Switchy reminded me today, 5 years we've been doing this. So for the Beatles.
It'll be 5 years for me in February. So you guys have been doing this longer.
Don't say that. I think of it as about 2 years, maybe, of fun. Thank you, Switch. Thank you, JJ. Thank you, Coco. And thank you, everyone, for listening in. And until you hear us next week, this is Mack from the entire gang saying be safe, be happy, and
bye-bye.